So in this week's upload, I'm going to answer a common question that we've had time and time again recently following previous uploads on this YouTube channel, which is how can you make a complaint against a bookmaker online, hopefully getting a case resolved in your favour as quickly as possible without all the fluff and faff. Now this is a problem I've faced a lot myself in the past, particularly with sportsbook, so I am familiar with this. I'm going to leave timestamps down below in the description, but for anybody who's not familiar with this channel or me, I'm a professional sports bettor, trader on Betfair's exchanges, so I do a lot of different videos on this YouTube channel showing you how you can actually progress your trading or betting strategies, beat the sports books and some of the dirty tactics that they use in order to try and avoid paying out, which is obviously directly relative to this topic. So how can you make a complaint and then progress it up the chain as quickly as possible without being given the runaround? Because I think that's the main point here. A lot of the time these operators, they will resolve the cases, they will take the correct procedures, generally speaking, but they will do it in the most drawn out manner as possible in an attempt, when you bear in mind that they've probably got millions of customers, particularly the big ones, in an attempt to grind you down so you don't actually follow through on the process. So here's the fast track, starting right from the top. Now the first thing to remember is all of these operators that are licensed by the UK Gambling Commission are actually mandated, and they have various rules and procedures to follow whereby they have to offer you a process where you can put a complaint forward and it is resolved appropriately. So before you get started and we go through this process and I tell you what you need to do, you need to bear in mind that clarity is absolutely everything in this, and you need to have all the facts and information regarding your case documented before you say a word, because you may find in some instances, or people have in the past, things have changed, various web pages may disappear halfway through, especially if it's worth a lot of money. So get your facts in order, including all of the specifics, whether it's to do with a deposit, a specific bet, if it was a palpable error, if they're refusing to pay out, or if they're saying that there's various checks that need to be done. So you need all of that information before you start, and preferably so you can give it to them before they even ask for it. So a lot of the time you can find on the operator's website, usually in the footer somewhere or in the contact section of their pages of site, it will tell you where you can submit and start this process to complain about a specific issue. Also, it's worth bearing in mind that you may want to look at the terms and conditions for said operator before you even contact them, so you understand what their terms and conditions are and if they've been unclear or a little bit misleading in various places. The next thing to do is to file the complaints process with the bookmaker. So get your information together, lay it out as clearly as possible, be as concise as possible. Nobody wants to read a book on the other end, okay? Especially if it's talking about points that are completely irrelevant to the case. You'd be surprised, it happens a lot online. Quote their terms and conditions where you need to, and make sure you give them all the right information so they can contact you and follow up or ask any further questions, okay? And again, document all of that information. It's also important to do this for later on, because if you haven't done this step and you haven't done it properly, or you haven't been clear later on in the process when you go to contact and involve other bodies or people, the first thing they're going to ask you is, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you use the complaints process? Why didn't you give them the relevant information? Why didn't you give them the specifics? So you need to get all of that out of the way first. It may seem like a lot, really, it probably takes about half an hour tops a lot of the time. So think like them, put the information forward, be clear, be concise, give them the specifics. If they're going to ask you for something like your proof of income, something like that, provide it all in the first hit, send it over, document the whole lot, save it in a folder on your computer, your phone, wherever it is, so you've got it for future reference. Next, if you find that the bookmaker is being unfair, or exchange or any other operator, you think they're being unfair, they've said, look, no, we're not going to resolve your issue here, we don't believe that we're at fault, but you still believe they are at fault, you can then save all that information that you've got, take it on to the next step, which is contacting IBAS. So IBAS are an independent dispute service where you can file a complaint on their website online, we'll show you on screen now, and you can put a complaint through with the IBAS service, who will make a judgment. They're well versed on law, they're well versed on how betting operators operate and similar problems like yours. So again, another point to make is make sure you're extremely clear when you're put that complaint forward, because they get in heaps of these every single day. They don't want to know all the unrelevant information. Put that forward, be clear, and then see what IBAS come back with. Now, a lot of the time, and I've found with previously in the past with operators online, once IBAS contacts them, they may settle the case there and then, or they may offer you some free bets or something as compensation to make up for the shortfall. But don't hold your breath. That doesn't happen in every instance, particularly if it's over a very large amount of money. You'll see various cases in the news, but persevere through with IBAS. That shouldn't take too long. Typically they respond within 5 days. You start to see where the case is going. Another option that you may want to consider, and this is not applicable to every instance, but you might want to consider contacting the ASA if you think that they've been false in their advertising. I know a lot of firms may offer free bets, or they have done in the past. Not being that clear, then people have signed up, used those free bets, then they've refused to give them. So you may want to contact the ASA and say, look, their advertising is not being clear, this is not fair and reasonable. Another option is also to send a message through to the Gambling Commission. Now, the Gambling Commission do not deal with individual cases, so don't expect the Gambling Commission to pick up your case and get back with the specifics and go through things like IBAS would. They're not for that. But if it's a broad issue which is going to affect a lot of people, and longer term followers of this channel will know that I contacted the Gambling Commission regarding a Football Index issue several months before Football Index went under. That's the type of people that they are, or type of issues that they should be more interested in. Unfortunately, they weren't in football, or that they were very drawn out in dealing with it, the Football Index case. But that's another issue. You may want to contact the Gambling Commission. Now, at this point, if the IBAS has knocked you back, if the Gambling Commission aren't particularly interested, if the operator has turned around and said, nope, we're not going to do nothing, and you're at fault here, and you still believe that you're not, a lot of the time you're in trouble at this point, because it's going to be harder to progress this even further. There are a few independent people out there that may offer to help you online. You can probably find them on Twitter. But the best thing to do next is to complain to your MP or even the DCMS. So we're going beyond the Gambling Commission, we're going beyond the gambling industry here. If it's really that bigger issue, you can complain to them to put some additional pressure on the process, the bodies involved, and potentially the operators, or you can go outside still. You could contact some journalists. This obviously happened with Football Index. Many of them weren't really interested until Football Index had gone under afterwards. Or use social media channels to put additional pressure on to these operators. But a lot of the time, you're going to struggle in those areas. So that would be my advised way of approaching a complaint with a bookmaker. Use the process, use IBAS, use the Gambling Commission where needs be, and then put pressure on them alternatively. But reality is, if you've used all of those, exhausted all of those options, you've only got legal action left, which is going to be drawn out, it's going to be expensive, and unless you've won several £100,000 from a bookmaker and they're refusing to give it to you, it's highly likely that it's not going to be worth your time pursuing. And so it's maybe best just to move forward and forget about it. Now, I know that last line there sucks quite a bit, but it's just the way of the world. That would be my personal advice. That's how I would deal with complaining about a betting issue online. So hopefully that video has been useful for anybody who's suffering with an ongoing complaint right now. If you found this useful, then please don't forget to tap the like button down below there, subscribe to the channel, and check out some videos we've got here in the end screen about various topics.